Okay, well, we now resume the public session, and I apologize sincerely for being a little late. We got a late start because of some technical difficulties. And Jess and John, I believe you want to make some opening comments before we start on the agenda.
Just briefly, Trustee McMahon, and thank you first for the trustees and for everyone. The three proposals under consideration today were developed at different points on the calendar, and in some cases going back several months. And in addition to that, we had the cancellation of the April version of this meeting. So if in reviewing the proposals, you notice any references to upcoming dates that are now passed, that's why. These proposals in some cases originated in December or January, and we're now giving them an airing. So I wanted to explain that for people who've read them closely. Secondly, before handing it over to now former interim provost Tuchinski, and very happy to be returning to his role as Dean of Arts and Sciences, Tuchinski. But three quick points about the first proposal that you'll be hearing about today, which is special education undergraduate program at the University of Southern Maine. The first is that formal requests for this program at USM have come from multiple area school districts, including Gorham, Windham, Westbrook, and Falmouth, and also from the Maine School Superintendents Association, all of whom have written to USM urging the development of this program. And the reason why is to address a direct crisis in staffing in Maine public school districts. As the data is made clear in the excellent proposal written by Professor Rachel Brown-Chidsey and her colleagues at USM, there is an existing gap, a significant one, in special education staffing, a significant number of currently unfilled positions in special education, and a potential massive future need as 1/3 of all Maine teachers are currently of retirement age. So the number one driver behind this, particularly in Southern Maine, but across our state, is a need for more special education teachers. Number two, I want to call to your attention and praise an innovative apprenticeship program, a collaboration involving participants from school districts, the Maine Department of Labor, and USM that will see degree students in this program working full-time as ed techs, educational technicians in area public schools as they pursue their degree. This registered or embedded apprenticeship program is an emerging national best practice in education, in teacher preparation within education. If this program is supported by this committee and approved by the full board in July, this apprenticeship program will be the first of its kind in our system, the first of its kind in our state, and a model that could readily be replicated in other programs offering special education across our state, including our one other existing undergraduate special education program. And then thirdly, I'll just say, we've got some very helpful feedback Friday and into the weekend about the way that we represent the unified accreditation connection for programs being considered by this committee in the A sheets, those cover sheets that appear in the board materials that you see when you check out the agenda and decide what you want to zoom in for in committee meetings like this one. We will be working, thanks to Vice Chancellor Dorsey and our interim clerk of the board, Kayla Flewelling, to render more clearly on those A sheets themselves what type of program is coming forward, what its connection to unified accreditation is, or in some cases isn't, and doing that in a way that's straightforward, but also in a way that doesn't copy and paste vast amounts of material from individual proposals into those cover sheets in a way that's probably annoying to our trustees and confusing to the rest of you. So we are working on an improvement to that process, and I'm grateful to the trustee who pointed out the need for clarity in this area in general, leading to that conversation about improving those cover sheets. So with that, very happy to turn it over to Adam Tuchinski.
Yeah, just before we start, Do you want to make a comment? There is no faculty discussion today and there's no student discussion.
Thank you. Forgot that, David. We checked in. Thank you. We checked in with both the faculty board representatives and the student representatives a couple of weeks ago. With the students away and in large measure scattered, although a couple of them I know are here today, and with the faculty representatives being off contract at this point and pursuing their summer engagements, both groups agreed with us that we would not schedule an individual discussion for either of them at today's meeting. And I was supposed to say that, Trustee McMahon, so thank you for reminding me. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Tuchinski and Dr. Andrea Stairs Davenport, and of course, inviting input and comment from President Edmondson at any point as well.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chancellor St. John. And my only role here today is I just have a distinct honor of introducing our new provost, Provost Frierson, who began her tenure at a CAO retreat last week. And the first question I asked Provost Frierson is, do you want to learn through the abstract, or do you want to get started working right away? And she is delighted to get started working right away. And I'm here to help answer any questions that might come up, but the best person to answer those questions is Associate Dean Stairs Davenport, and frankly, our president, who has done a lot of work on this as well. And before I hand over the floor, I just want to thank all of the other academic leaders around the system in the state who met with us and helped us refine this proposal as well. So thank you, and take it away, Jarita.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tuchinski. So Dr. St. John, thank you this morning for the great overview of the special education program with the Bachelor's of Science. We're here today from the University of Southern Maine to present this program, the Board of Trustees, with regards to it being a fully online Bachelor's of Science degree program.
You're on mute.
Jarita, you went on mute there for a second.
My apologies. There we go. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry about that. So I'll go back to, again, this is a Bachelor of Science degree in special education that is intended to serve working professionals who might not otherwise pursue a bachelor's degree in teachers education. As we heard from Dr. St. John, the need and evidence is great in the state of Maine and also in Southern Maine. There's been various contingencies that have reached out to us to ensure that we have this type of program. I'll also share with you too that we are working with embedded special education preparation program and apprenticeship program with the Maine Department of Labor, as we heard from Dr. St. John as well. And again, we're working with current education technicians that would like to complete their degree as well. I can stop there due to time and open up the floor for questions, or President Edmondson or Dr. Stairs Davenport, you want to add anything else? So I know we had a great overview from Dr. St. John.
Yes, I agree. The overview was great, and I have no further comment.
Questions from the trustees? Trustee Alexander.
Thank you. So let me say that I was very impressed with the design of the program, and I have no comment or adverse concern at all with all the work that's gone into developing this program. And I fully understand the collaborative nature with regard to the high schools and other institutions in the Southern Maine area. So my concern is not so much the design or content of the program, about which I do not view myself as a member of the board as having any particular input. So I looked at this from the point of view of where is the system discussion of the implication of this program? Where is the description of what other institutions are doing in this area? Where is the potential for collaboration? Where is the implication for drawing students to our other universities who may offer special ed or educational oriented type teaching programs? So that's the discussion that I have raised here that I do not see here, and that I would have expected to have been the focal point of the a design of the program and not just filling in the blank on the front page about unified accreditation. So that's the issue here. And it's the issue with the next two programs as well, is that I'm looking at this from a system point of view. What are the implications for one university to design a standalone program in light of what we're facing, which is a system type serious concern with enrollment and potential attraction of students to all of our universities. So I will make that clear as to what my concern is and what it's not. And I'm happy to hear responses to that concern.
Trustee
Yeah, you
Alexander,
want to
thank you.
comment?
I'll start with that one, Trustee McMahon, if that's all right with you. And I'll start with the latter two programs. We frequently have programs brought forward for a consideration by this committee that reflect teaching power and resources that exist in some number only at one of our universities. That's not always the case, but it's more often than not the case that we have some small critical mass, depending on the size of the university, of faculty and teaching power, physical resources, projected imminent hiring that would allow a university to move into a new programmatic area where we don't currently have offerings elsewhere in the system. And sometimes those offerings are extensions. They complement existing programs at that same university that's looking to branch out into a slightly different area or an altogether new area, attracting and new students based on, again, that existing teaching power. With respect to the first program, special education, we are absolutely mindful of the need to have conversations. Numerous conversations have been had, continue to be had, and are not always reflected in their messy detail in a written proposal. Sometimes there's a desire to collaborate. Sometimes there's a concern about collaboration. But as we've tried to make very clear, the communication is ongoing, even in the development of this new program. And in the launch of a truly innovative apprenticeship program tied to it, the public awareness generated by the program reinforces the need for staffing in the area, and it is responsive to numerous needs, both in Southern Maine, but also shines a light on the need for additional students, and of course, the argument for additional resources in existing programs. So the goal here is to develop a new program that meets immediate, clear needs as defined. In this case, not even necessarily by the originating faculty, but by the institutions of public education in Maine that are responsive to the need, aware of the need, and are asking for us to help solve it. And in doing that, we believe, with a high degree of confidence, that adding more special education at the undergraduate level, something that the chancellor and I heard as recently as 3 weeks ago, be shared as a goal in a meeting of faculty representing all of our education offerings across the system, and a goal that was not disagreed with by any of them, is a positive goal, is a good step in the right direction. And Trustee Alexander, we certainly don't have mathematical certainty in any area that the addition of one program is going to lead for a specific positive, neutral, or negative outcome for another, but we are also doing everything in our power to make all programs supportive and responsive for all existing programs, and to grow enrollment and to grow the strength of programs system-wide every time we consider bringing forward a program in this category, which specifically is the request to add a program in an area where another program already exists elsewhere in the system. I hope that's at least somewhat responsive to your very, very valid concerns.
Okay, Roger.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Chair. First of all, Dr. Frierson, welcome to Maine. And if those are dogs behind you on that bookcase.
Huskies, yes, sir.
Huskies, all right. A lot of dog people on the board.
Yes.
Trustee Alexander really stated my questions in a much more coherent way than I could have. But I just want to follow up on that a little bit because I know that there's one, I believe from the materials, there's one special education undergraduate degree program in the system now, and that's at Farmington. And Farmington certainly has traditionally been, historically, it was a teacher's college. It still specializes to a certain extent in teacher education and clearly special education. Then there are, I think, 4 other universities, which it sounds like have general education degrees, but with concentrations offered in special education. And my concern, I guess, is not that the need for the program at all. I mean, clearly the need is there. But the overall issue we're facing as a system is where can we complement each other, and where does competition, internal competition within our universities, hurt us collectively? And I don't know that that's what's happening here, but I just want to raise that issue and get people's thoughts about it. Why isn't this at Farmington, which, if it's going to succeed in the long run, is going to succeed as a college which concentrates, at least to a certain extent, on an education, particularly where it's being given, this program is going to be given online. I assume that Farmington has the faculty to be able to do this, or at least the beginning of the faculty be able to do this. And again, I have no question about USM's ability to do this. I understand that many of the teacher opportunities are in Southern Maine, that many of the teacher training opportunities are in Southern Maine. But I'm concerned we're potentially hurting some of our other universities by essentially weakening their programs, or not weakening them, but not allowing them to strengthen as much as they might if we were to allocate this new online program where they already exist. So it's a great proposal. I have no questions whatsoever about the need or USM's ability to do it. But I worry, as we look at the long-term viability of some of our other universities, about whether this is just another challenge for them to try to overcome that maybe we don't want to place in front of them. So that's my concern. I'm happy to hear what responses there might be.
President Edmondson.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Trustee Cates. I agree with you. The University of Maine at Farmington has a long history as a teacher education program. When I was working in teacher education in Pennsylvania, I was aware of the reputation that Farmington had for teacher preparation. But I also feel a need to remind this group that the University of Southern Maine also has a long and distinguished history in teacher education. And we started as the Gorham Normal School, and we've prepared teachers for a long time. Our special education faculty teach in a master's degree program that enrolls about 165 students per year. And it's a robust program. The faculty are known by the school districts in this area, and they have a strong reputation. And because the school districts approached us about this particular program and working with them on the apprenticeship, we feel a need as a regional comprehensive institution to lean into that mission and to ensure that we're serving the needs in our region. I can let the Associate Dean, Andrea Stairs Davenport, talk a little bit about the collaborations that have happened, how we are working with Farmington. But the need in special education is so great. It's not unlike nursing. More than one of our universities delivers nursing degrees. I think in this particular area, more than one of our universities can offer special education at the undergraduate level and benefit all of the University of Maine system, in addition to the needs that are happening here in the state and in the region. But Andrea, would you be able to talk a little bit? I mean, you've been really involved in the collaborations that have led to this and the discussions that have happened, so that we're sure that we're working in very collaborative and careful ways with our sister institutions.
Yeah, I mean, I think education is one of the areas that is probably most collaborative. I mean, it's what I live day to day, and I think we have a really good relationship with our partners across the UMaine system. And I agree with our president. I think that it can only benefit the children of Maine who are being severely underserved by underqualified teachers every single day in this state. It can only benefit them to expand opportunities. And I think the registered apprenticeship, and it might interest you to know that it's our faculty member who has 35 years of experience in the UMaine system, who is just so excited about the potential. I mean, there are only, I think, 16 states that have registered apprenticeships for teaching currently in the US. So I think it's a potential model of growing your own teachers. And I also think that the population that we're seeking to serve is a little bit different than the population that Farmington serves in terms of undergraduate students. I think it's very, very hard to recruit traditional 18-year-old students into special education unless they have some sort of deep connection to it. They've had experience in their family or among their friend group. But we have lots of working adults in Southern Maine who have potential as Ed Tech 1, 2, or 3 to become classroom teachers. They've just never really seen themselves that way. So I do think that working with folks who are already out in the field, be they, single parents or people who never thought about completing a graduate degree, I think it only improves special education overall in the system and for the children of the state, who I will reiterate are really not being served by everything that we're currently offering.
Rich?
Yeah, thank you. I share the enthusiasm for the idea, and to grow your own teachers makes tons of sense. But I appreciate both Barbara and Roger's concerns. The question for me is, and Jackie, I think President Edmondson, I think you hit on it, that you are a regional center. Does that mean your marketing and the work will be with your local school districts? And should interest occur in Western Maine, is there a way to make that a program of UMF as well, so that you don't overstretch the regional reach of USM?
Yes, I think that's a great point. And as I understand it, our goal is to be working with the ed techs who are currently in the school districts in Southern Maine to advance their credentials so that they can become certified classroom teachers. That is our audience. I think if the audience starts to expand beyond that, we can certainly, we'll know when students apply where they're coming from, but really this is a program tailored to that apprenticeship model that's in the school districts that are here in Southern Maine. And Andrea, you may correct me if I'm wrong, you're in the details there more than I am, but that's what I understand.
Yeah, and just in talking with Superintendent Heather Perry, who really initiated this conversation with our special ed faculty, the 15 apprentices who are currently at Southern Maine Community College in phase 1 of this program, she said are her very best ed techs in her building. And she can see that she'll be able to retain them because of the funds that they've received, the mentorship they've received. So the next step for them would be to stay on with us in phase 2, become ed tech 3, the highest level, and then earn teacher certification at the undergraduate level.
And if I could add, if we don't offer this particular program, the students are not going to be going on to Farmington or to another University of Maine system to get this degree. They're local teachers who have, ed techs who have constraints on geographically where they can go. And so that is another way that we're meeting the need. And I really would not want to let our school district partners down, the folks who've requested this. I also feel like it's another way that we're strengthening our connection with Southern Maine Community College as well, as we work to seamlessly transition from the students from the community college experience into this particular teacher education program.
Yeah, it's a great model and reflects great collaboration. I just think it has, as a model, it may have potential for UMF and for other campuses with their ed techs.
Can somebody clarify what the apprenticeship model means? Does that mean that there's money going from the Department of Labor to the ed techs to pay them for the time they're spending studying? And is that at their normal hourly rate? And about how much money is going to be transferring hands then?
It's a both and. So there is money with the Department of Labor. There are resources there. Apprenticeships in education have not been typical until just the most recent years, really. And that's why there are only 16 states that have them. Gorham School Department is the only school district in the state that currently has a registered apprenticeship program for the ed techs with SMCC. So it really is sort of a new area, but they are paid as district employees as well. So we, at other campuses in the system, particularly at the graduate level, we are already offering paid student teaching internships by allowing students to continue their work in classrooms, but it sort of expands on this model and codifies it with our national CAPE accreditation. I think it's very exciting. In other states, it started and initiated it in Tennessee. And the idea was you wouldn't have to pay anything to become a teacher. So you would go through this entire apprenticeship program. You would be paid the whole time you're doing your field experiences and your coursework. You would, as a way of recruiting teachers, because we know it's challenging in any field, any discipline that you want to teach, and special ed is one of the most challenging of all.
Other questions from the trustees? Barbara?
Yes. What I would like to ask the system office to do is an analysis of the system implications, potential advantages, any potential concerns with regard to all three of these programs as a part of the presentation of the Unified Accreditation section for each of our academic programs that come to us. And in this particular case, that section for each of these programs is labeled N/A. I can't vote for a program that doesn't discuss the unified accreditation aspects of any program presented to us. That's just me. Other trustees may feel more comfortable in other areas. So it's an analysis of the system-wide aspects of the program in question, the potential for developing elsewhere, the way in which you're going to monitor it and allow other universities to make use of it, what Farmington said or didn't say with respect to their implications for this program, what they feel it has as a way of having an impact, pro or con for their program. So all of that is what I would like to see. Now, in this case, we don't have it in front of us. And it's possible we had a situation previously in which that kind of discussion was developed and presented at the board meeting at which this was on the agenda. And I'd be happy to acknowledge that as a way to proceed here. But that's my concern. And I need to be honest and upfront about what that issue is for me in terms of not allowing me to vote yes on these programs today. Thank you.
Councillor?
I'm happy to be with you for this discussion. There's a few things, thoughts that cross my mind. First of all, that we should absolutely respond to the trustees' request in the future, that we should build that stronger into our review process, and we should commit to doing that. I know that Jeff, working with the provosts, can come up with appropriate language and a form to do that. I will also point out that unified accreditation is relatively new. The conversations that we're already having amongst provosts and presidents, and the concern that we express even at our system offices, when it appears that we will be putting people into competition. Having said that, with this particular request and the dramatic difficulties in finding teachers in Maine, this seems to be an appropriate program to bring to the marketplace. And that was, I think, what drove these actions. Jeff made a comment that he and I had stopped in. He spoke, and I spoke subsequently later in the meeting at a special ed united meeting of all of the educational programs that have special ed. And there was and there was great support for finding additional special ed certification programs at universities, making them available at more places. And I use that word places because that's what we're talking about in a unified accredited system. We have to recognize that place has a major meaning to people, where they're going to go, what institution they're going to attend, particularly for full-time in-person education. We are very cognizant of those difficulties, but programs that are going to be available online in many ways have to be thought of differently. And because they are generally not course concentrations that are being taken by students who are present at a place, but rather is more in line with what our strategic plan has committed to, and that is doubling our online learning opportunities. And if we are going to do that, that does mean that there will be a competition. But the people we want to compete with, particularly on these online programs, are Unity, which has 7,000 students online, our UNE, which has 4,000 students online. And the necessity of meeting the market is a necessity that all of our universities are going to have to rise to in the future. So let me just summarize. Number one, we need to meet the needs of the trustees. And at least 2 trustees in this meeting have said that they want more information, and we should supply that in the future. I, as someone who grew up with severe learning disabilities, and someone who enjoyed the education and comfort of special education teachers, to help me overcome my perceptual as well as my physical impairments. Working in the state of Maine, where we are so drastically underserving this group of people, I think requires us to step up and step out of our comfort zones, to allow our children in this state to be properly educated. But we have to meet the needs of our trustees, and I am personally committing to you by the next time we have this meeting that we will have a form that will demonstrate answers to the questions that the 2 trustees have raised today.
Thank you.
Let me just say that I thought that my proposal would allow this to go on the agenda for the July board meeting. That was the process we went through before, where we had questions raised about unified accreditation, and the ASA did not deny it or refuse to move forward. It was just put on the regular agenda for the next board meeting, with the additional information provided at that meeting. So that was the process that I'm asking, I guess, whether that would be appropriate in this proceeding.
So basically you're saying take the existing motion and strike the word consent. Because right now the motion is to put it on the consent agenda. You're asking,
Right.
You're asking
That-
to put it
That's what we did the last time this issue popped up. Yes,
on the discussion agenda.
yes.
Now, can I have a motion one way or the other as a chair of the meeting? Do we want it on the consent agenda or the regular agenda? And I'd look for a motion in a second.
I would move to put it
Whichever
on the
way
regular agenda.
gets it to
with the-
pass. Like I'm comfortable voting for it either way, but whichever way moves it along and doesn't slow it down is what I'm for. So I'm happy to move whatever way you want, David.
Well, I would move to put it on the regular agenda with the understanding, doesn't have to be in the motion, that we will get more background material and a discussion of unified accreditation implications, system-wide implications in all three of these programs.
So let me read the motion. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the agenda of the July 10th, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Special Education at the University of Southern Maine. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion? Kayla, could you call the roll, please?
Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Cates.
Yes,
And the motion carries. And I have been taking notes, so I have made the change from consent to discussion agenda.
Thank you very much. The next item, Jeff, do you want to tee that one up, or do we go straight to Adam again?
My understanding from what the discussion I just heard is that the trustee would prefer the same approach for all three items on today's agenda, taking them to the July meeting. Is that accurate?
Is there any discussion that we want to take place on the other two items? Is there any presentation on that? Or do we just want to go straight to the motion?
So trustee McMahon, if the issue is that there isn't a sufficient indication of implications for unified accreditation, we would want to supply that, put that together and make it available to trustees at the July board meeting.
Correct. So my question is, what is the consensus of the trustees? Do we want to have a discussion on the supply chain degree? Do we want to have a discussion on the OT degree, or do we want to just put both of them together onto the agenda? Yes, Barbara.
Yeah, well, my recommendation would be to treat them all the same because they all came to us without a discussion of unified accreditation. I repeat my lack of concern about the substance of the proposal. It's the system-wide aspects to be discussed that I'm missing here. Thank you.
Jeff, do we have a presentation on either of these programs, or do we go straight to motion?
Well, I think given that trustee Alexander's comfort with the actual proposals, I think it would make sense to me to just collect the information that is being sought and put it in front of the trustees of the July meeting.
So then unless there's some discussion on the content of either of these proposals, and I'm not seeing any raised hands, I'll read the motion that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the agenda of the July 10th, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Operations and Supply Chain Management at the University of Southern Maine. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Kayla, could you call the roll, please?
Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Cates.
yes,
Motion carries.
Thank you. And then the next item is the BS in Occupational Therapy. Are there any questions on that? If not, I would look for a motion. The resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the agenda of the July 10th, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Occupational Therapy Assistant at the University of Southern Maine. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Alexander. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by trustee Kane. Any further discussion? Kayla, could you call the roll then, please?
Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes,
trustee Cates.
Yes,
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much and appreciate the full and frank discussions and look forward to seeing you all on July 12th. Enjoy the day before it rains tomorrow.
thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.